Hi, and welcome to this AI and C# video about image generation. Normally you see videos from me about the 18 framework, but the 18 framework itself can't do image generation. It is more or less linked only to text. It can understand input images and PDFs and stuff like that, but it can't generate images by itself. So in this video, we're going to use the raw clients from OpenAI, Azure OpenAI, Gemini, and Grok in order to generate images. So let's get going. So here we are in the system, and since this is not 18 framework, I have put it in a special folder up here called Special AI Features Not Using 18 Framework. And we have the image generation. So in order to do this, we don't really need the 18 framework as mentioned. So I only put in OpenAI and Azure OpenAI in this one because those two work exactly the same way. And if we look at it, we just new up our normal client. And instead of going in here and getting a chat client or response client, we get an image client. And as you can see here, we can say create AI agents. But it's a fairly simple API, so we probably don't need it anyway. And of course, you can use the output of this in a workflow or some of the other AI stuff you do. But what we see is we just make this agent, and in case of Azure and Azure OpenAI and OpenAI, we use the GPT image one. There's also the DALL-E one, but this is the new one, the one that became popular with the Studio Ghibli like images in ChatGPT. And we just give it a prompt. So in my case, a tiger in a jungle with a party hat. And you can give it various generations options, like for example, if it should be a transparent background or it should choose for you. You can choose the quality of the image. You can choose the size of the image, but only in certain specific sizes. You can control it by yourself. And you can choose the output format. Once you do that, you get simply the image bytes back. And in my case, I'm just saving it down to disk and running the image. So if we run this, let's set a breakpoint. There will not be an console output despite being a console, but we will just go to here. And images in general take a little while to generate, just like you see if you, for example, are in ChatGPT. So let's get our tiger. And again, the console is empty because nothing is happening other than the AI is now thinking and generating the image so we can get it back. Yeah. So as I mentioned, Azure AI and OpenAI are just the same and they take the same info. So we get our image, and if we look at this, we can just see it's a PNG in this case. You can see that by the image bytes. We just take them as normal bytes. So now we are in C# land. Make a path, in my case, in the temp folder. And let's execute so we can see the image. And it generated this image. And of course, this will be a different image every time you run it because of the nature of AI. So that was OpenAI and Azure OpenAI. If you want to do the same in Gemini, we use, of course, the generative AI that we use down in zero to first prompt in the Gemini here. But of course, again, we can't make an agent, so instead we're making this client called Google AI. And Google have two ways of generating images. It had a generate image model system, but it also have the more Gemini models by itself that can, because they're multimodal, run or generate images as well. So if we switch here, we will see first Gemini model, where we go in and generate a Gemini model, in this case Gemini 2.5 Flash image, which is also the same as the named Nano Banana. And then we say image of a tiger, and here we need to say image because else it would perhaps not create an image for us. But we take the same part and let that think. This one tends to be a little faster than what we saw with OpenAI. And we get back a little text, say here our image. But what we see is we get these candidates, they're called. And in here we have some content. And we can see there's two parts of content, one being the text and the second being a base64 image. So what we do is we go in and grab the first candidate, and in those parts we find the one that have some inline data, which was our base64 image. So we can turn it from base64 into bytes, and we can show the image. And apparently it wanted to write happy birthday. Not seen that before. I don't know why it want that. But we can of course prompt us our way out of that it's not about a birthday if we feel like that's a thing. Next up, if we look, we have the dedicated image models. So it's called ImageGen 4.0 Generate 001. And in that one, we actually just say generate image async, and we can send some parameters in. We can't really control too much of image size and such as it looks like. And default, it will actually generate 4 images. So I've just gone in and used the parameters here to set a sample count of 1. So I only want 1 image. But if you, for example, needed a suggestion for a logo or whatever, you could, of course, set this up and get multiple images back. But I will only take 1, so we don't need to wait so much. And in this case, it comes back as something called predictions. And our result of that prediction is we get a base64 image, and we can do exactly the same as before. And let's see, in this case, we just got a tiger with a party hat. And again, because this is fast, let's try to run it again just to see that the images will always be different from case to case. So this was the new one for the Nano Banana without the happy birthday. And let's see the second one, which is in this case this one. So of course you need to prompt, should it be realistic, should it be cartoonish, and so on and so forth in order to make this work. Next up we have Grok. And Grok, if you've seen the first two zero to first agent, is using the OpenAI API. But I put it down here because they have some limitations. There's certain of these generation options that simply don't work. The only one I found that worked was background and output file format. Can control the size, and the quality. But else, it's just take the Grok API key with the endpoint against the OpenAI client, and then use their model name, in this case Grok 2 image. And if we run this, and wait a bit, it's not the fastest either. But again, it all depends on how much load there are on the various LLMs at the time. We get an image back. But in this case, you can see we don't get the image bytes because Grok have chosen to give it back as a URL back. And here you need to be quite fearful because this image is actually a public image. So if you know the URL, it can be hard to guess, of course, but they are actually public every single time. I haven't found a way to get them to be private. So if you're doing something confidential or stuff, you definitely shouldn't use Grok for this. But if you're just making funny animals with party hats, I guess it's okay. But that really surprised me that that was the problem. Then last one, Anthropic. Well, Anthropic don't support image generation as of the 1st of November 2025. So and it doesn't look like they are in interest of doing that. They want other dedicated models, because there is of course dedicated models from Stable Diffusion, DALL-E, and the various other models that are specified in making images. But if you wanted to work on OpenAI, Google Gemini, or XAI, you have now seen how that can be done. And again, Agent Framework is not really able to help here, but the raw models and the task we have is so simple that it probably doesn't matter. So Dan, thank you for seeing this video, and see you in the next one.